hold on to your wigs because the theater world just got shook. Rachel Zegler, once hailed as Broadway's next Golden Girl, has now become the center of a jaw-dropping scandal that's got the entire West End whispering behind closed doors. Word on the street is that a leaked security camera video from an EVITA rehearsal just went viral, and oh honey, it's not a cute look for Rachel. The footage? Absolutely chilling. Rachel, the star of the show, is seen being escorted off stage, yes, you read that right, against her will. Security swoops in from both sides, and before anyone could blink, she's being led out in front of the whole cast and crew, who just stood there frozen. No one moved, no one said a word. The music stopped, the energy died. And don't even think this was some dramatic rehearsal moment. It was the explosive climax of weeks of backstage chaos. People close to the production are calling it the final straw after what they're describing as a nightmare buildup of tension between Zegler and the entire creative team. Let's just say Eva Perón might have been a diva, but nothing compared to what went down here. And the most ironic part, Rachel was absolutely obsessed with this role at first.
Yeah, well, we're busy, of course. EVITA opens at the Palladium this summer, so we're collaborating with Jamie Lloyd again following Sunset Boulevard. Well, Rachel was desperate to play Eva Perón. You know, it was her idea.
Back in the beginning, Rachel was practically bursting with joy. She called the role transformative, life-changing, and culturally sacred. Her socials were a shrine to EVITA. Behind-the-scenes shots, deep emotional captions, gushing admiration for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Fans were living for it. The press was eating it up, and for a hot second it looked like this was Rachel's big redemption arc after those previous controversies, but then the vibe changed. Suddenly, the happy posts dried up, the captions got cryptic, the sparkle dimmed. Insiders say she started complaining privately about the production being unsafe, even calling it creatively gaslighting. Those spicy messages, they leaked. Fan accounts picked them up and ran wild. What was once an inspiring artistic journey was now being painted as toxic, restrictive, and downright manipulative. Some even started digging through her past work for red flags they'd missed. And guess what? There were plenty. Missed press junkets, odd interviews, social media scandals. What looked like random PR hiccups suddenly seemed like a pattern, a dark mosaic forming. One casting assistant even admitted Rachel's name now sets off warning alarms, not blacklisted, but definitely approach with caution. During one Broadway roundtable, her name allegedly got mentioned and the room went dead silent. Nobody wanted to say it out loud, but nobody wanted to touch that risk either. And perhaps the most heartbreaking twist, young actresses who once idolized her are now distancing themselves. Vocal coaches are literally using her as a cautionary tale. But Rachel, she didn't go quiet. No, instead of addressing anything head on, she pulled a move straight out of the Snow White damage control playbook. Out came the poetic, moody posts, holding space, healing in chaos, choosing grace in unsafe rooms. To her diehard stans, this was queen behavior, but to industry insiders, it was maddening. They wanted clarity, accountability, not cryptic Tumblr energy, because this time the stakes are real. There are real delays, real dollars lost. A sad Instagram story isn't going to unfreeze a failing production. Let's rewind for a sec. Remember, Rachel was a starlet plucked from nowhere by Steven Spielberg for West Side Story. It was a Cinderella moment. She had the voice, the emotion, the spark. Everyone thought she'd skyrocket, but then came the Shazam flop. And the confession that she only took the role for money, not exactly the flex fans wanted. Then the Snow White PR disaster, dissing the original film as creepy, calling the prince useless, alienating Disney's core audience, that's a choice. EVITA was supposed to be her comeback, a perfect fit, but instead it's become another chapter in what some are calling Rachel's messy legacy. And now her reps are apparently scrambling, trying to reset her image. Smaller roles, artsy indie films, low-profile projects. Basically, keep her name on the screen, but out of the tabloids, because no one's denying the girl's talent. That voice, unmatched. But being talented and being easy to work with, two very different things. So here we are, Rachel Zegler, 23 years old, a voice that could shatter glass, a face that launched 1,000 movie posters, and yet she's standing at the edge of a very steep professional cliff, and Everyone in the industry is watching, silently asking the same question. Can she turn this around? Because make no mistake, the stakes are sky high. In Hollywood and theater, talent is everywhere, but what really keeps doors open? It's not just raw skill, it's reliability, professionalism, and being someone that directors, producers, and castmates want to work with again. And right now, Rachel's name is sounding less like a dream and more like a caution flag. And what makes this entire EVITA fiasco even more tragic is how quickly things unraveled. What started as tiny hiccups, showing up late, minor creative disagreements, slowly spiraled into something bigger, darker, and totally unmanageable. People backstage started noticing the red flags early on. A snide comment here, a lighting disagreement there, little creative battles that could have been smoothed over, but instead piled up like wet laundry no one wanted to touch. And then, the moment that truly broke theater etiquette, the director himself, Jamie Lloyd, stopped speaking directly to his lead actress. Instead, he sent assistants and stage managers as go-betweens. That's not just rare, that's unheard of. In theater, the bond between director and lead is everything. It's sacred. You work together, you build, you push each other. But in this case, that connection was severed. Emotionally, professionally, artistically, gone. And outside of the rehearsal room, oh, things were no better. For fans online, the narrative was almost too hard to follow. Rachel's cryptic Instagram captions and poetic metaphors made it feel like she was going through some deep, personal war. But for the cast and crew showing up every day, it wasn't abstract, it was very real and very disruptive. The leaked video of her being approached by security has only added gasoline to this already raging firestorm, because how people interpret that moment depends on which side of the fence they're standing on. To her supporters, it was heartbreaking. A young woman being silenced, controlled, punished for her creative passion. Another victim of a rigid system, unwilling to adapt to new voices. But to others, it was the necessary final act in a production spiraling out of control. A moment of intervention that came far too late. This entire mess has stirred up deep divides, not just in theater circles, but in entertainment as a whole, because the truth is, this isn't just about EVITA. It's about how we work, how we handle pressure, how we communicate when things get messy, how far someone can push the boundaries of artistic freedom before it crosses into dysfunction. And Rachel's strategy throughout all this, it's not about press conferences or sit-down interviews. She doesn't clap back with receipts. She lets moody quotes do the talking. I bloom where I'm not watered. I will not shrink for rooms too small for my light. That kind of thing. And sure, that resonates with fans. It creates this aura of mystery, a tortured artist misunderstood, a phoenix rising. But for producers, for casting directors, for people who have to pour millions into a project and need it to function smoothly, that aura is dangerous. Because let's be clear, no matter how talented you are, if your behavior results in lost rehearsal time, rattled co-workers, and production chaos, you're seen as a liability, not a muse. And now, people in high places are talking. Whispers in Broadway casting rooms, side eyes in West End boardrooms. Rachel Zegler is no longer the wide-eyed breakout star from West Side Story. She's the actress with a list of controversies stacking higher than her resume. But still, there's a twist. Because despite everything, despite the chaos, the tantrums, the walkouts, the cryptic posts, the ghosting of directors, no one is denying her talent. That part, still untouched. She can act, she can sing, she does light up a stage. And in this industry, that's a currency too powerful to ignore, which is why her team is reportedly shifting gears fast. According to insiders, they're pivoting hard. No more major studio tentpoles. No more headline-grabbing projects. Now it's all about strategic reintroduction. We're talking smaller roles and ensemble casts, thoughtful, artsy indie films with very structured environments, directors known for mentoring young talent, strictly limited press, zero reliance on Rachel to carry a project solo. The goal? Rehab that public image slowly, quietly, make people miss her instead of side-eyeing her. And it might just work. Because if there's one thing we know, it's that Hollywood loves a comeback. Everyone loves to forgive if you come back better, humbler, and ready to play the game. And at only 23, Rachel still has time to rewrite her story. This doesn't have to be the end, but it is a turning point. And if she doesn't pivot soon, those doors that once flew open for her, they might start closing quietly, permanently, because while talent may get you in the room, it's reputation that lets you stay. And in theater, reputation is everything. This isn't film where scenes can be reshot, where editors can patch over breakdowns. This is live, raw. Every note, every movement, every moment is built on trust. If your lead becomes unreliable, the whole structure shakes. And in EVITA, that's exactly what happened. What's so wild is how it all went downhill so fast. From glowing rehearsals to full-blown crisis. From Rachel calling this the most powerful role of her life, to walking out mid-run-throughs with financial backers watching. And let's not forget that infamous run-through was supposed to be the moment that sold the show to investors. Instead, it nearly sunk the entire ship. And the worst part, everyone could feel it. The rehearsal room got cold. People showed up like zombies. The joy, gone. The magic, sucked dry. All anyone wanted to know was, would this thing even survive to opening night? Behind closed doors, producers were meeting with lawyers, quietly exploring her contract, pushing understudy rehearsals into high gear, trying to figure out how fast they could recast if they had to. That's not speculation, that's survival. Meanwhile, the whispers grew louder, casting directors comparing notes, studios pulling old interviews, agents combing through old tweets, everyone looking for signs. Could this happen again? Should they take the risk? And the fans, they're torn. Half are lighting candles and tweeting prayers. The other half are asking, how many second chances does one person get? It's not black and white. It never is. Rachel is clearly dealing with things that go way beyond theater drama. But in this business, personal chaos becomes professional risk. And that risk, it's starting to cost her. The bottom line, Rachel Zegler is at a crossroads. She can rise, she can fall. She can learn, heal, rebuild, or dig in, deflect, and repeat history. But the world's watching, and the industry remembers. In 5 years, she could be holding a Tony or an Oscar, or she could be a cautionary tale whispered backstage before rehearsals. Don't be a Zegler, because talent may open the door, but temperament decides if you get invited back in.